everybody, good morning and welcome to the class. It is Saturday, of course, and maybe you are still in bed. Maybe you had a busy week and this is the weekend you can relax. So hopefully you can enjoy a little the English class. The plan is to have the structure very similar compared to the other classes, and we will look at vocabulary, expressions, grammar, phrasal verbs, everything. That is the plan. Everything here is fine. We had a normal day yesterday, a normal morning today. So after the class yesterday, I went to the city centre in Dublin, and there is a lot more activity. There are people going to the shops, walking around, so the atmosphere is a little better. The weather is still quite cold. It's very cold this week, and today I have my Saturday shirt, you can see, very colourful. I've no party to go to, no place to go, but still it's Saturday, so I decided to wear some colour for everybody. So that is the plan. Also today we have another class, another webinar today at 1 p.m. Dublin time. So after this class we will start a webinar at 1 p.m. and the webinar is in relation to the first certificate. So this is the information. It's at 1 o'clock in Dublin, 2 o'clock in Spain, Sao Paulo 1 o'clock, Jakarta 11 o'clock at night, Lima 11 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in Bucharest. And the idea is just to focus specifically on the first certificate exam, the level B2. The Cambridge exam is very popular, and also the Escuela Oficial de Idiomas in Spain is very popular. So the material will be very similar and will be related to the two exams. And the intention is to continue every week and to start different groups. So yesterday we had a webinar in relation to business English, and this is the plan, to continue with classes and webinars in the afternoon. You can see the time. Also, it's possible it's on Zoom, so you need to register. If you are interested, contact me to register your place, and we will share the contact details, and the payment is possible by PayPal, Bizum, Revolut or bank transfer if you are interested. So the idea is to continue every week, focus on the first certificate, material, and that is the plan for today. So I hope you can join if you are interested and you are free and you want to learn more English. That's the possibility. You can come to the class because it's open for everybody. And the idea is it's just more work and more opportunity for people to access English at a lower price, obviously, as well. So if you are interested after the class, you can contact me and to register and to reserve your place. It's also possible in the event section on Facebook. You can register and join there. Okay, so that's the plan for today. I hope we have no problem with the connection today, because always it's a possibility with the technology. So hopefully there's no problem with technology, computer, and we have a lot of people at home as well. It's Saturday, so hopefully there's no big disruption. And of course my famous dog is normally in the garden, and it's possible he will start singing a beautiful song, so I'm sure you might hear him at some stage, but hopefully there's no big distraction. On the left we have the social media channels, so Instagram. Finally, I am permitted to post on Instagram again. I had to wait 4 days before I could post because they had a restriction, because they said I commented maybe a little too much last week, which I didn't realize was a rule. So now I can post again finally. So I have a nice picture this morning from Instagram. Twitter is possible, and YouTube channel with the same content as well. So if you want to connect on all the channels, that's really good. Today, if you want to participate in the meeting to practice some speaking, if you want to ask a question, if you have a grammar question or you have a particular question in relation to English and you want to ask the question, you can join the meeting. And this is the code. The meeting ID is here and the passcode on the bottom left on Zoom. It's probably better if a few people join, because I think it keeps the Zoom call active, because if it's not active it's possible it disconnects after 40 minutes, I think, which is strange, but that's the situation. So they're the two options. You have the the ID and the passcode to join, and you have the social media as well. Okay, good. So now we can begin. So the structure will be almost the same as the other classes, and at the beginning we look at the introduction topic, the grammar, because maybe today is your first day, and welcome to the class if it's your first day. But if it's not your first day, you are probably familiar with this document, and it's the foundation of English. And especially in my class, it's important to explain the technical concepts at the beginning, because during the class I use the technical vocabulary a lot. So it's very important at the beginning to understand and to be conscious and to be aware of the technical vocabulary. Okay, so this is the reason it is important. And some people speak very well, some people understand speaking and listening very well, but they do not understand the grammar structure. And for this reason, it's good to introduce at the beginning the grammar structure for everybody. Okay, so I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see. For me, there are 3 areas that are very important. Also, sorry, before we start the introduction, I'll show you the agenda for today. So the agenda is the introduction. After the introduction, we will continue with the article from yesterday. The article is in relation to new television programs that are possible to watch, I think, on Netflix. So yesterday we saw 1 new program, and today we will analyze more vocabulary and grammar and phrasal verbs and issues from the article today. We have a possibility of a list of phrasal verbs and idioms to continue, and speaking possibility as well if you want to participate in the class. So for me, there are 3 sections that is the base of my class. That is also the base of English. The first section is use of English. The second section are tenses. And the final section is just grammar topics that are important as well. So for me, there's 3 separate areas. And for the first area is definitely very important, probably the most important. So also, I hope you can understand me. There are subtitles available on Facebook. You can select the subtitles and the captions if you can understand me. And I know today we have people from lots of different places. I think people from Brazil, maybe Peru, Bolivia, in South America, and then we have Europe, people in Dublin, in London, in Romania, France, Germany, lots of different places. And then of course in Asia we have people from Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam. So it's fantastic. So I hope you can understand me, and thank you again for connecting. So the use of English is the first section, because accents, we have a lot of different accents in English, and this is a big part to understand English. It's very hard to understand a real strong accent from Ireland and a real strong accent from England or from United States. And that is a big skill and a big ability for you to try to be familiar to catch the vocabulary and the accent, because it's hard. So that's really important. The next area are phrasal verbs. So in English we have a long list, thousands and thousands of phrasal verbs, and they are very specific and very unique to English. So the structure of a phrasal verb is the verb plus the preposition, and it's possible a literal significance. For example, look up. So it's literal, look up, but the second significance is completely different. The second significance of look up is to search for information. So I look up your details, I look up your information, has the significance I search for your information. So that is the category of phrasal verbs, and we have thousands of phrasal verbs, and we use them all the time, and they are so quick and so difficult to catch, and for this reason they are so important for you to learn, because they're very unique to English and they are the foundation of every conversation and every situation. So phrasal verbs are so important, and that's the reason I think the first section, use of English, is probably the most important. And during my class, probably I focus most on phrasal verbs, idioms, accents, expressions and pronunciation. So this area definitely I think is key. Okay, so also we have idioms, and idioms are like expressions. So we use a lot of expressions all the time in conversation, with family, with friends, in formal situations, informal situations, movies, series. Every situation we have phrasal verbs and we have idioms. And for this reason, it's very important to understand and to focus on this area. The next category are tenses. So when you speak in English, you need to be familiar with the structure of the tenses. Every language, I think, is similar. You have different times in every language. But in English, I want to explain some concepts at the beginning. For example, the simple. We have the present simple. You speak in the present simple, one action that happens now. I talk. We speak in the past simple, which is one action that's completed in the past. And the regular construction is ed. For example, talk, talked. And the future simple is generally with the verb construction will. I will talk. That's the future simple. There's a second possibility. I am going to talk. So there's two possibilities for the future simple. But this is the simple. And it's more complicated because we have the past simple with a lot of irregular verbs in the past. And that's a big difficulty when you learn English. You have to be conscious and be aware always of the possibility of irregular verbs in the past. Very, very hard. For example, eat in the present, ate in the past. Go in the present, went in the past. So there are many fundamental verbs in irregular form in the past simple. So this is so important. The next idea is the continuous. We have the idea and the concept of the present continuous, one activity or action that happens continuously in the present. The construction is the subject, the extra verb to be, and the gerund. That's the technical explanation, but basically it's I am eating, I am drinking, estoy bebiendo, estoy leyendo, and that's the present continuous. I am eating, I am drinking, I am reading. The past continuous is a similar concept, except the period is in the past and the activity is continuous in that moment. Okay, and the structure is I was eating, I was drinking. We also have the future continuous, which is the activity in that period with the future continuous concept. I will be eating. Okay, so simple, continuous, and also the perfect. We have the present perfect, which is usually the period in the past that's finished, but it is related and relevant to the present. And the construction is the extra verb have plus the participle of the verb. The participle is the technical name for the third column. You know, in school you learn go, went, gone, run, ran, run. So the third column is the participle, and this is important in the perfect. We have the present perfect, which is the period in the past that's finished, but it is related to now. And the same example every day. I have eaten my breakfast this morning. So it is finished, it is completed, but it is relevant to now because at the moment I am not hungry because of the food in my stomach at the moment. So it's related a little. Also, the past perfect is the period of time in the past, usually before another action in the past simple. And the construction is the verb have in the past. I had eaten my breakfast before my friend contacted me. So that's the past perfect and the present perfect. That's the little difference. It is possible in the future perfect. I will have eaten my breakfast before my friend will arrive. So just to be familiar with that concept, they're the three very important concepts: the simple, continuous, and perfect. We also have the foundation and the idea of the infinitive. And the infinitive is basically to eat, to go, to drink, to have, to sleep. The infinitive. Okay, so during the class I mention and I speak a lot about the infinitive. It's the base and the foundation of the verb. The conditionals. In the books, the theory for the conditionals is quite heavy, and it's very heavy, the theory for the conditionals, and there are a lot of rules in the book: zero conditional, first conditional, second conditional, third conditional, mixed conditional, and it's a massive area to study, and it's quite difficult and depressing, very depressing. But in reality it's more related to if and the different time. So for example, again, if it rains today, I will not go to the city centre. If I spoke with my friend yesterday, I would have mentioned the football. So it's different tenses connected with different situations, and it's also the hypothetical situation. If I won the lottery, I would buy. That's the conditional. That area is very common in English. It's important for you to study, and during the grammar sessions on Monday, we also have a grammar session every Monday at 4 p.m. Dublin, and we will focus soon on the conditional in relation to the grammar sessions. Okay, so the conditionals are very important. The next final idea in tenses you need to be familiar with is the active and the passive. So the structure of the active is the subject, the verb and the object. The ordinary structure is generally the active, and the creation of the passive, you need to change the position of the subject and the object. Okay, you also need to introduce an extra verb to be, and one example is I drink milk, and then the passive, the milk, extra verb to be, is participle of the original verb drunk by me. So that's the concept of the active and the passive, and it's important at the beginning to be familiar with the concept, because during the class I identify frequently the structure. Okay, fantastic. So they are the two big areas, and the final section are just the general grammar concepts that probably a lot of you are very familiar with. For example, a noun, an adjective, an article, an adverb. They are the four foundations of English. A noun is a substantivo in Espanol, a person, a place or a thing. Jacket, telephone, house, car, Brian, road. These are the nouns. Every noun you need an article. In English we have two articles. We have a and we have the. A technically is indefinite article. Pronunciation is possible a or a, and the is the definite article. That's the technical name. So every noun you need an article. Also, it's very frequent and very possible every noun you have an adjective, and the position of the adjective is before the noun. For example, house, the big house. So the position of the adjective is before. This is important because in Spanish and in Portuguese I think the position is different. Okay, that is the article, adjective, noun. We also have an adverb, and the function of the adverb is to describe the verb, and usually the adverb finishes, the adverb ends in ly. Quickly, slowly, happily, rapidly. That's the typical adverb with the ly. You can see here on a few examples: drink slowly, talk quickly, run quickly again. But that's the same example really with the adverb, but you understand the idea, I think. Quickly, slowly, softly. And we have other adverbs not necessarily finishing in ly. For example, already, now, yet. They are also adverbs. You just need to be familiar with the concept. Now, they're the basics, and then the next section is also key, the next list. Modal verbs are a special list of verbs in English. Modal verbs, we have can, which is related to ability. A verb, I can play the piano, I can run for 2 hours, it's my ability. And it's also permission. I can enter the room, I can enter the building. It's permission and ability. Okay, number one for can. Could, may and might are for possibilities or options, and they are practically the same. I could go to the cinema, I might go to the cinema, I may go to the cinema. It's a possibility, it is an option. And the difference between may and might and could is probably more general, and may and might is just a little more formal, I think. That's the only difference between the three. Shall is typical for the question. Shall we have dinner? Shall we contact your friend? Shall we go to the shop? It's a question. Will we go to the shop? Will we contact your friend? It's a little formal and it's very important. Should is typical for recommendation and advice. My recommendation for you, you should watch this movie. You should read this book. So it's a recommendation or my advice. And also the pronunciation of the next verb is difficult. The G is silent, so the pronunciation is ought to, and the significance is the same for advice and recommendation. You ought to visit your friend. You ought to read this book. You ought to watch this program. It's recommendation and advice. And finally, must has the same significance as have to, which is tener que in Espanol, and it's obligation. You have no choice. You must go to the cinema. You must collect the children. The big rule, the most important rule, after the modal verbs, we have another verb in the infinitive, to eat, to go, but the rule, it is necessary to eliminate to. So after the modal verb, we have another verb in the infinitive but we eliminate to. I can go, I have to eat, I must see, I could walk. That's correct. The error, I can to go, I could to walk. So the error is to. You need to eliminate to. Very, very important, because it's a common and frequent mistake that people make very, very often. Okay? Prepositions are so important. They're very, very small words in relation to movement, in relation to direction, and in relation to position. For, from, in, of, on, to, at, with, under, over, above, through. They are so frequent in English. They are part of every sentence, and they are related to movement, direction, and position. For example, on the table, under the table, over the table, below the table, beside, in front of, back from. We have a lot of prepositions, but really prepositions are also fundamental in relation to phrasal verbs. So the phrasal verb is the verb plus a preposition usually, and the significance is literal, but also it's possible a lot of metaphor, or a lot of different completely different significances for the phrasal verb, but the prepositions are a big part of that, and also they are connected with emotion. So up is usually positive, up is usually creation, up is usually happy, down is usually negative, sad, depressing, and destruction. So you just need to be conscious of the importance of prepositions and the connection with the emotion and the sentiment. The next area is very, very big and very important. The difference between the possessive adjective, the possessive pronoun, the object pronoun, and they're the three most important. For example, my hat, it is my hat, it is your hat, it is his hat, it is her hat, or the hat is mine, the hat is yours, the hat is his, the hat is hers, or give the hat to me, give the hat to you, give the hat to him, give the hat to her. Particularly for he, she, his, hers, him, her, that's the big confusion, and you need to be totally sure and totally confident and clear with that area. There are pronouns. So you have the possessive adjective, you have the possessive pronoun, and you have the object pronoun. So you need to be very sure with that area, and one day again in a grammar webinar we will focus specifically on that. I am sure you cannot wait to study this more grammar. Okay, so you need to be familiar with this, that, these, and those. There is a difference between this, that, these, and those. Basically it's singular and plural before the noun. This pen here, that pen in a different position, these pens plural, and those pens plural also, away in a different position. It is simple, but it is a common confusion, and it's difficult to remember when you're speaking very quickly and you're in conversation. It's impossible to remember everything, but that's the reason today I continuously explain, because hopefully one day, in English we say the penny will drop. So that's an expression. When the penny drops, you understand. Como darse cuenta in español. So the expression here is that when the penny drops, and the significance is the person understands. Okay, so finally you understand, the penny drops. Okay, and I'll just make that a little bigger because they are my notes for the class today. And that's the reason I explain this message every day. Okay, also the difference between another, other, the other, the others. Okay, and another is for singular generally, another day, another week, another year. Other is generally for plural nouns, other weeks, other days, other people. That's the difference between another and other. It is possible when you have a selection of two things. For example, a coffee. Do you want this coffee or do you want that coffee? So do you want this coffee or do you want the other coffee? So it's possible when you have a selection of two things, you can say the other one, the other day, the other coffee. Also with the S, the others is in relation to a group of people or products or things. So do you want this group of clothes or do you want the other group? But in relation to people, you say, do you want to go to the cinema with us or do you want to go to the cinema with the others? Okay, so it's usually with a group of people. Good. So that is the general introduction for today. That is sufficient, I think, for the grammar concepts for during the class, because it's important that if you continue with my classes, you need to be very, very familiar with all these concepts, because during the article, during the analysis, I mention a lot the technical vocabulary, phrasal verb, idiom, preposition, modal verb, past perfect, present perfect, present continuous. So you need to be very adjective, noun, adverb. You need to be sure at the beginning, and it's important and it's interesting because probably you can compare to your own language, and I'm sure in your language you have the same structures, the majority, so it is useful to compare your own language with English. Okay. Finally, suffixes and prefixes is a very important area to help. So you need to know the difference between the word. Is it the verb? Is it the adjective? Is it the noun? Is it the adverb? And the suffix generally is a secret or an indicator for this. For example, ance suffix is usually substantivo, which is the noun, the importance. So that's a little secret. The ize usually is the verb. We have a lot of suffixes for the verb, but ize is a typical suffix for a verb in the infinitive. To realize, to monetize, to fantasize, they are typical verbs with the suffix ize. able is typical adjective, manageable adjective, ly is typical adverb, and pre is usually substantivo or noun before something, pre-match, pre-concert. Okay. Good. And writing is very important as well. So if you want to practice your writing, you can send some writing and I will try to correct your writing for you. Okay, good. So again, if you want to participate in the meeting, it's possible here with the code, and we can practice some speaking definitely. But before we practice some speaking, we will begin with the analysis of the article here for vocabulary, expressions and grammar. But it is possible to join the meeting and to practice your speaking, and possibly at the end we can continue with the speaking as well. Okay, so this article, again, we started yesterday with the article, and it's a description of television programs that are available to watch in March. The first program we did yesterday was In the Line of Duty, and the second program here is called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Okay, so the first one is called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I think you can see the picture. Maybe some of you are familiar with the series. Maybe you are familiar with the idea. For me, I am not. I have never heard of it, but I will look at the vocabulary. After this program, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there is another program which looks very interesting, Sky Rojo, and I think it's related to Spain, and maybe this is very interesting as well for some people. So we could possibly start with this one, but no, first I'm going to start with the second option. Okay, so the falcon is a special type of bird. I think we have an eagle, which is very similar, but the falcon is a big predatory bird that catches and kills the other birds or the other animals. It's a falcon. So it's just important vocabulary. So I will read first for pronunciation the two paragraphs, and after I read we can go back to analyze the vocabulary. Okay, so Captain America's best friends, Sam Wilson, known as the Falcon, Anthony Mackie, and the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, Sebastian Stan, will reunite for the first time since the events of Avengers Endgame. In this big budget Marvel series on Disney Plus, the pair are set to carry on the legacy of Captain America after Steve Rogers passed his vibranium shield to Sam in the conclusion of Endgame. Daniel Bruhl will reprise his role from the Captain America films as supervillain Helmut Zemo, alongside Emily Van Camp as rogue ex-SHIELD agent Sharon Carter. Wyatt Russell also joins the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a new antagonist. US Secret Agent John Walker. Watch the trailer here. Okay, so in my opinion, not too difficult. The vocabulary is understandable, I think, for the most part. I will just explain a few important things. So first, it's possession. This is the typical structure with possession, the apostrophe S. In English, this is fundamental and it's basic and it's very important. In Espanol, it's el boli de Brian. which in English is Brian's pen. So the pen of Brian literally is understandable, but it's not very frequent. Number 1 is this structure, Captain America's best friends. So it means the best friends of Captain America, but it's understandable. But the number 1 structure is the apostrophe and the S for possession. Okay. Known as is a typical structure, and in exams these are the typical combinations that are important. Conocido como. So you are known as the best. Dublin is known as the small city. So known as, that's a typical combination. Okay. So not too difficult, I don't think. Reunite. For me this is very interesting because in Spanish and maybe Portuguese it's reunir, and reunir is just typical with friends every day, every week. It's reunir. But in English, reunite is specifically usually after a long period. So it's very typical in school. When you finish school, I finished school maybe 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago I finished school, and after 20 years we reunite. Okay, it's similar to reunion. So in English, the context reunion and to reunite are typical after a long time. But in Latin languages, Portuguese, Spanish, reunir is more typical at the weekend with your friends. But in English, it's to meet, and reunite and a reunion is usually after a very, very long time. So that's a big difference in the context between Spanish, Portuguese and English. Okay, so to reunite and a reunion in English is after a long time. Okay, so very important difference. For the first time, since. So again, you need to be totally sure the difference between since and from. Since is usually one moment in the past. Since 8 o'clock, since yesterday, since last year, one moment. But from is usually, 2 periods. From 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. From yesterday to today. From last year until today. So that's this little difference between from and since, and it is a frequent error. Very, very common confusion, and some of you understand it, but some of you do not understand it. So that's just important. Since and from. And most classes I identify that issue. Okay. The vocabulary here is very important, and this is maybe the most interesting vocabulary at the moment. So a budget, the pronunciation is interesting. And remember, in Ireland, the pronunciation of the U is possibly very strong in Ireland. So it's very possible budget, Dublin, butter, with the pronunciation of the U with the accent in Ireland. But phonetically in the book, it's maybe budget. And a budget is related to money. So you travel to Ireland and you have money dedicated to your trip. So you have maybe €500 for 3 months. This is your budget. So you cannot spend more money. €500 is your budget. Presupuesto. No, not presupuesto. It's something similar in Spanish, but your budget is very important vocabulary in the economy and the government. The budget is the money they have, and here's the translation in other languages: Bulgarian, Chinese, Croatian, Dutch, French, German, Italian, Malay, Korean, Japanese, Polish, Portuguese. Oh, it's very it is presupuesto. Okay, so you can see very important vocabulary of budget, and it's possible for yourself, it's possible for a company. That's your budget. Okay, it is possible a verb as well, so you need to budget. Okay, so it's a substantive, a noun, and it's possible the verb to budget. We have another verb which is completely different. To budge is well, maybe it's connected, but I need to think. But basically the significance of budge is to move. So it's very common in conversation with family, with friends. If I am on the sofa and my sister enters the room and I am taking all the sofa, my sister says budge over, which has the significance to move over. Okay, so it's possible I am not budging, and that means I am not moving. Okay, so to budge has the significance to move. Very advanced vocabulary, but very important. Also, we have a budgie, which is completely different again. So a budgie, again, the pronunciation is probably funny for you because of the U, but a budgie is a type of bird. You know, like we have a parrot, but the budgie is the small bird that's a typical pet for the house, a pet for the animal. That's a pet for the family. It's a budgie. Okay, so it's a type of bird. Okay, so very important vocabulary. A budgie, and the verb to budge is completely different, and a budget is completely different. But maybe in Latin, the original significance in Latin probably connects all three. At the moment, I do not see the connection between the three. So for me, at the moment, they're very different, but possibly the Latin significance connects all of the words. Okay, so it's a big budget movie. Okay, also a typical synonym for big budget is, and the movie, we would say box office movie. Okay, so for example, Real Madrid are box office, Atletico Madrid are box office. The football match tomorrow, Atletico Madrid against Real Madrid, this match is box office, and the significance is everybody wants to buy a ticket, everybody wants to watch. So box office movie means it's a mega movie, a big movie. Okay, again, a series, this is very important. So for example, it's singular. Remember, this is singular, this, that, these, those. So in this case, the series is singular, but it is irregular in English. So one series always has the S. It's irregular, and the typical error, people always say, I'm watching a series with no S. That's the typical error, and it's very obvious. But it's in English, we say, I am watching one series with the S. You need to be very sure of this irregular word in English. Okay, so a series is always plural, even if it's one series, two series. Okay, so that's important with the S in the singular. It's also the same mistake and very obvious error when somebody says tengo una noticia in español. Tengo una noticia in English, literally, I have a new, but that's incorrect, because always in English, if it's singular, I have news. So we never say a news, one news, never, because news is always plural. So that's very obvious difference and very obvious mistake. So for example, I have news, I have a little news, I have some news. Never, I have a new, never. That's the obvious, very big difference. Okay, I have some news, and it's a very common, as I said, it's a very common mistake. So be very careful. I know I'm explaining now, but I am sure you will make the mistake again. So just to be conscious of it. On is the preposition for the channel. So on the BBC, on RTE in Ireland, on Disney, on Netflix. The preposition for the television is on, because originally the television is a surface and the computer is a surface, a screen. And for every surface, we have the preposition on. On the table, on the road, on the body, on the head, on the television, on the radio. It's the same. But the newspaper, we say in the newspaper. Yes, it's a surface, but the page is a surface. So we say on the page, but in the newspaper. Okay, so very good example and very important explanation of the prepositions for radio, television, internet, and newspaper. So the only difference is in the newspaper. Okay, the pair is like the pareja, the couple. So you have a pair or a partner. Also, we have another word with the pronunciation very similar, pair and pair. So the pronunciation for me is exactly the same, and the second pronunciation, the second word is the fruit. Okay, it's the fruit, like similar to an apple. But we have an expression to go pear-shaped, is a very famous expression, and the significance is your plan, your holiday, your project. You want your project to be normal, you want your project to be very successful in this shape. But if your project goes pear-shaped, it's like a big problem, because everything is normal, everything is good. But if the project or the holiday or the plan goes pear-shaped, it's a big problem and a big unexpected disaster or problem. So that's very typical in conversation, to go pear-shaped. Okay, here the verb set is very important. In this case, sorry, the verb is to be and the adjective is set. Okay, so the significance, for example, are you set? What do you think is the significance? If I say to you, are you set for the party? Are you set for the new job, for the interview? Are you set? So here the adjective is the significance ready. Okay, so are you ready for the adjective? Are you so are you set for the party? Are you set for the interview? So set is very, very important. And I see we have chat. I'm just going to try and open the chat. Where is my chat? I don't see it. Maybe it's behind the... I hope it's not an emergency. I don't think it is, but I think my chat is behind. No, I don't know where the chat is. So set has the significance of ready, but also you can say the verb to set, and the significance of the verb to set is very important. We say to set the table and to set your alarm. So set is very flexible in English and very common. I think in the dictionary, the 4 or 5 most frequently used words, set is in amongst the 5. So set is so ubiquitous and it's so important. And the significance here is to prepare, similar to the adjective ready. So to set the table has a significance to prepare the table. And if you have been an au pair, because a lot of people have been au pairs in Ireland to learn English, and that's the typical expression with the family. Okay, John, today it's your job to set the table. Okay, and here set the alarm is a little different. The significance is to probably fix. Okay, because with your target in your job, you set the target, you set the objective, you set the goal. It's like to put or to fix. Okay, and set the alarm is like to fix or to put your alarm. Very important. Okay, so set is extremely common, and here the significance is ready. So the pair in the program here, the actors are set to carry on the legacy. So this is a phrasal verb, a classic phrasal verb, and the significance of carry on is literal. I enter the aeroplane and I carry on my bag, because on is the preposition for the aeroplane, on the train, on the bus, on the boat, and you carry on your bag. Number 1. Number 2, it's completely different. The significance is to continue, because normally with on, it's continue. For example, go on, and carry on means to continue. And normally it's the ing after. Carry on eating, carry on drinking, carry on talking has the significance to continue eating, continue talking, continue the verb. Very important. Number 2. Okay, so there's 2 significance. We have a third significance in relation to children. So the behavior of the children is very bad, and it's necessary for the parent to say stop the carry on. So the substantivo, the noun, the carry on is the bad behavior. Okay, so it's typical in the context for children. The parent can say stop carrying on. Stop the carry on is stop the bad behavior. Number 1 is literal, carry the bag onto the aeroplane, and number 2, the significance is to continue with the verb in the ing. Okay, so carry on is very important, and I'll just write here so you'll have for the notes. To carry on is literal, the plane. For example, carry on the plane, and maybe you'll have the preposition to, because it's direction, carry on to the plane, your bag. The second one is the carry on is the behavior, bad behavior. Okay, and number 3 is to the verb to continue. To carry on eating means to continue. So this is a perfect example of the use of English, the first category in my introduction. So very, very important significance with the phrasal verb, with the expression, and with the substantivo or adjective. Very, very important. So here, carry on the legacy has the significance to continue. So it's possible the verb in the ing, but here's a substantivo which is possible as well. After Steve Rogers passed his vibranium, I have no idea what this is. It's obviously a very strong or a special chemical for the shield. So the shield is important. It's a substantivo, a shield, but it's also a verb to shield. It's like to protect. So you are the warrior in the army and you have the shield. So the shield protects you. Okay, and it's used as a metaphor for children. You are the parent and you need to shield the parent. You need to protect the child. You need to shield the child, okay? And typical from, shield the child from the internet, shield the child from bullying. Shield is important and the pronunciation is interesting, to shield, okay? So it's like protection, very important. Reprise for me is very advanced, very proficiency. I think in this case the significance is to repeat. Usually I think it's in the context of music, okay? But here it's the role. So you are the actor and this is your role. So Ross from Friends, that's the character. The role is Ross, but the actor is that David Schwimmer, I think. So the role is like the position or the character that you play. In society, you have to play a role. It's possible a role model. If you have a young person, you are the role model. You are the adult. So the person models the behavior on you. So a role model is important. We also have role play in the company. Role play is typical behavior in the company, in training, that you have to act. So the verb is very important, to act or to pretend, okay? So you have to pretend to be in a situation. You have to act to be in a situation. You have to do role play, okay? To play a role as well is a very important expression. To play a role in your development. Como jugar un papel, I think, in Espanol. Okay, as is the position. So you work as a doctor, you work as a teacher, you work as a nurse, and here it's a super villain. So a villain is like an enemy. If you are the villain, you are an enemy, but if it's a super villain, it's a super enemy, like a superhero in the opposite. Okay, alongside is the preposition. The significance is more advanced. The same significance basically is with. I work alongside my partner, I work alongside my colleague. Basically has the significance I work beside my colleague or I work with my colleague. So it's just a preposition, and it's important also for walking. I walk alongside the river, I walk along the river. So you can see along and side. So just really a little more variety and a little more vocabulary. That's the only really explanation, okay? As, again, is a position, and here it's the agent. He works as an agent. And this word is fantastic, rogue, okay? So in English, in Ireland, in conversation, a rogue is a person who's maybe charming, very, very charming. You know charming, okay? Very friendly, very nice. Everybody likes this person, but they're a little mischievous as well. They're a little funny, and they're not silly, they're not stupid. They're very intelligent, but they do what they want. They behave whatever way they want. They're a rogue, but everybody loves them, and they get away. They escape with their behavior. Okay, so it's a very famous expression in Ireland, and I think in England. You are a rogue means you're very, como tienes muchas cara, pero we like you. Todavía nos gustas, I think in Espanol. So a rogue is the person, and here basically its expression as well, to go rogue, means that you leave maybe the group, so the group of police, the group of agent, and if you go rogue, it's like vigilante, okay? So here the context is vigilante, a little eccentric, a little different behavior. And joins, that's no problem, the verb to join. The marvel, as, again, the position or the profession. Here it's as an agent, and here it's the antagonist. So remember, in Spanish it's very similar. Protagonist is the principal character, the main character, but the antagonist is usually the enemy. And it's possible the verb in English to antagonize, typical in children. So the parent says to the child, stop antagonizing your little brother. Stop antagonizing your brother. So it means stop annoying, stop fighting, stop causing problems. So the verb is to antagonize. Very advanced vocabulary, but very good at the same time. Antagonize. And the antagonist is the person, because the suffix, again, the area of the sufijo, so the suffix is a very good indication of the form of the word, and here it's a person. So for example, dentist, antagonist, tourist, they're all people. Also, you need to be very clear with science. Science is the subject. In school you study science, but the adjective is very scientific, but the person is the scientist. And this is a common confusion, again, people learning English. So the scientist is the person. Okay, and you need to be very, very sure. So this is a good example of the suffix and the importance of the suffix. The trailer. So there is a verb in English, to trail. And to trail is to go behind. So there's a substantivo, the noun, which is very typical when you walk. You do hiking, you go on a trail. So a trail is like the walk, but it's related to the verb. Really, the significance of to trail is to go behind. So, for example, the mother is walking on the street, the mother is walking, and the child is trailing behind. So the significance is following behind. It's the exact same concept with the car. You have a car with the people, and you have the trailer with the animal. So the car is moving, and you have the trailer. So the principal movie, the full movie, and you have a little example, is the trailer. Okay, so it is connected. The trailer is the little piece of the movie to interest you or to attract you. Okay, the trailer for the movie. Very, very good. And that's fantastic vocabulary, very good. And I'm very so there's the picture, and I'm very excited about tomorrow's or Monday's article, because this is the article about the program in Spain, Sky Rojo. And I see the vocabulary is very, very good, and I'm very interested to start this article and analysis, but I will wait. I will keep my patience, and I will wait for Monday. So this is the reason for you to connect on Monday, and this is the reason for you to attend again on Monday. So I know you're very excited and you cannot wait, and you're going to attend on Monday. Okay, so that's the plan. Now we can continue with phrasal verbs or idioms, but it's a perfect moment to practice some fantastic speaking. So if anybody wants to join and anybody has a question, if you have a question and you want to ask something about English, now is the perfect opportunity to join the meeting. I think we have a participant already in the Samsung Galaxy. So Mr. Samsung Galaxy S7 or Mrs. Samsung Galaxy, if you want to participate, just raise your hand or put a comment. Are you ready? Okay. There's the chat. So it's perfect opportunity to participate. If you have a question, now is the moment. And it's also possible to continue a little when we finish the class on Facebook Live. We can maybe continue the chat in Zoom also. Okay. So I think that's sufficient for today. Remember, thank you very much, everybody. It's a good opportunity for me to teach. This is the social media, and before we connect with the Samsung Galaxy, it's possible you can connect on social media. Everything is for free. I'm very happy to teach for free. If you want to support me, if you want to help me, it would be a big help, and it will allow me and permit me to continue giving the free classes and to continue working. So if you want to support me with just €1, it would be a very good help, €1 or €2. You can do it by Bizum if you are in Spain, or Revolut, or the bank details on the bottom left. So there's 3 possibilities. Or by PayPal, you can make a small donation of €1 to me. It would be a very big help, and it would be a huge contribution for me. So thank you very much if you can, and it will allow me to continue. And thank you to everybody who participated and helped me already. Remember, today we have another session in 50 minutes. We have another webinar, and if you are interested in joining, just send me a message and I can confirm your registration. And the focus will be the first certificate English, the B2, but the vocabulary will be very good and the expressions, so it will be a benefit for everybody if you just want to learn English. Okay, so if you want to participate, just send me a message, and also in the event section on Facebook you can see the details. So I'm very excited. I'm very happy to do this, and we will continue on Monday as well. So now it's a perfect opportunity for Samsung Galaxy. And I am Matteo. I'm Matteo. Okay. Yes. Yes. Perfect. So I'm going to connect with you, Matteo. People are probably familiar. If people want to leave, thank you very much for connecting. But now we will just practice some conversation a little. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. And Matteo, now we will come to you. I'm going to try to unmute and hope. Oh, there we go. Matteo, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very good. Good morning.
Good morning. No, I was interested the course which start one in an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can I join?
Yeah, well, now I know you want to join, so you just send me a message, and the payment is it's for €2.90, and you can do that by PayPal, you can do it by Bizum, Revolut, so the payment is no problem. That's very easy, and then I will give you the codes. I will give you the access to the Zoom meeting. I think we yeah.
By PayPal, is it better for you? I don't know. What's the better method?
Well, PayPal take a little commission, so PayPal will take maybe 10 or 15 cents. So obviously I don't mind, but for example, Revolut. Do you have Revolut?
No, I don't know.
Don't worry. It's you can do it later if you want as well. It's
Okay,
and even with bank, I don't know if you want to connect with the bank transfer. That's a possibility. Whatever you want.
maybe I can make the bank transfer. But to find the method of payment,
Yeah,
you put this in Facebook. I don't know.
yeah.
Because this time I try to understand
I
how it works.
yeah. I'll show you actually the information. Here is the information. And always every class. I don't know if can you see the screen? Can you see my information? Okay, yeah. But don't worry. We will do that later. I think you're just on mute at the moment. So now you're back. So how was your morning?
Uh, I was studying. I just try to improve my English as I do every day.
Good. And what did you stud? What did you study this morning? What topic?
New words. I was watching new videos on YouTube. I was watching your lesson.
Okay.
And that's it. Every day is a new day to learn new expression.
That's a good attitude. You are full of optimism. You're obviously very happy.
I try to do my best to improve it. I need to improve it. I want to learn more words as possible.
Yeah.
It's not easy because sometimes the motivation is not there. But I try to do my best.
Yeah, exactly. It's difficult, and probably practicing speaking is a good option as well.
What's the weather in Ireland like today?
Can you see my hands?
Yeah.
They're very cold. They're very blue. They're the same color as my shirt. They're it's very
It's
cold.
very cold. Here in Rome is a nice day.
I don't care.
Huh?
I don't want to know. I don't care.
I don't want to.
And normally March. Normally the weather is very good in March in Rome. I think, right?
Yeah, yeah, here. But in Rome, usually the weather is good all the year.
Yeah.
It's not that cold. Just in December, it's a little bit colder, but the other periods is very warm, always warm.
Well, that's fantastic because I know Rome is maybe central Italy or a little north.
Yeah, in the central. It's right in the central.
So maybe in the south of Italy. I have a friend in Cagliari, and I imagine
Cagliari.
in this Cagliari. I imagine the south is just
Yeah,
fantastic weather.
Cagliari is an island of Sardinia.
Oh yes, yeah,
There is much. It's warmer
yeah.
than Rome, but here Rome is good weather.
So you have Cagliari, very warm. You have Rome, very warm, a little north, and then you have Ireland, which is freezing.
Thailand is very hungry, north Rome,
Yeah.
colder.
That would be cool. So take your time, and if you obviously when we finish the class, you can take your time, and if you want to participate at 1 o'clock Dublin, 2 o'clock in
But the
Rome, I think.
lesson is here in Zoom or Facebook.
Yeah, so it's on Zoom, and I have the details. I have the ID and the code, and it's only Zoom, and it's just a group. But the idea is to continue every week with this level B2. Your level, I don't know. Maybe your level is I don't know your level exactly. You know.
B2, C1.
Yeah. So the
it's useful as well to
yeah. And in the future, if you have the intention to try a certificate, that's the idea today, to explain the structure of the certificate, to explain the different parts, and it's maybe interesting, but it's specifically focused on an exam.
Okay, so the exam is for B2 and C2. What's the name of the exam?
Yeah. No, you're okay. It's very confusing. When I started, it was very confusing. So there's the Cambridge exam, and Cambridge offer level B2, which is called the first certificate, and after the B2 they have the C1, which is the advanced certificate, and after they have the C2, which is proficiency, but the structures are almost identical.
Okay, understand. Okay, so we'll see 20 minutes, no, 30.
Yeah, more or less. So you can contact me and we will chat and confirm everything, and I'll send you the details.
I
And
send you a message on the Facebook.
yeah, perfect, yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Matteo. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody who stayed to watch. This is Matteo. He's my celebrity friend in Rome, and I'm sure everybody was delighted to watch. So hopefully people watched, and say goodbye.
Bye bye. See you later.
Ciao. No, ciao.
Ciao. No, it's bye.
Thank you, Matteo. Take care. Bye bye. And thank you everybody, and talk to you all.